Hi, I'm Macy DelValle.
Hello, I am Missy Washam. Macy and I are good friends, and we are also speakers, coaches, and trainers, as well as program advisors for the John Maxwell team. We both have a passion for helping people live their best life, and we put together a training to help you live your best life at home right now.
Yeah, we really felt led to teach something, in this current time, something that I think that we're experts on, something that we do really, really well. And right now, many of you are working from home. Some of you are working from home for the very first time. And some of you are like me, working from home with lots of other people around.
I have to admit, Macy, that's not me, but I know that that's a struggle for a lot of people right now. So today we're going to give you 7 ways to make working at home work for you. So are you ready, Macy? Shall we dig in?
Yeah, we should. It's absolutely timely. So go ahead and get us started.
Okay, perfect. Well, the first thing we want to talk about is making your mornings meaningful.
Yes.
I cannot talk about making mornings meaningful without introducing you to this book by Hal Elrod called Miracle Morning. This book really transformed my life, Macy. It changed me from being, an adult who likes to sleep like a teenager to being a bona fide morning person. In the book, Hal challenges all of us to get up an hour earlier, which can be really challenging.
Yeah.
But he gives us tips on how to do that. Everything from affirmations to kind of talk yourself into it before you ever go to bed, and to where to place your alarm clock when you get up in the morning. And morning routines are really, if you study successful people like Hal did, there's really a pattern that all successful people get up early and have a morning ritual. And so he studied that and put together what he calls 6 steps to, he exactly says it's 6 practices that can save you from living a life of unfulfilled potential. And who wants to live a life of unfulfilled potential,
for
right?
sure not. Yeah.
And so he calls them lifesavers, and he uses the acronym SAVERS for each of those 6 rituals. And the first one is silence. Get up and sit in 5 minutes of silence, 5 minutes of prayer, 5 minutes of meditation, but no noise, no sound, just silence. The next one for savers is the A, and it's 5 minutes of affirmations, which is really speaking life into yourself, right?
Sure.
Claiming what you're going to get done that day, claiming what you've been created to do and be. So 5 minutes of affirmations. The V is 5 minutes of visualization. Maybe it's a dream board. Maybe you've got pictures on your phone of things you want to do, places you want to go. And so it's just 5 minutes of really sitting in that and dreaming big. Next, for the E, 20 minutes of exercise. Even if it's just stretching or calisthenics right in your own living room, move your body for 20 minutes.
Right.
The R is read. Read for 20 minutes. Read something good, right? Macy, we try to read something every day to grow us. And the number 6 is scribing, which is basically journaling. Put your thoughts on paper to have something to go back to.
Right.
What I would say is after you kind of follow a regimented routine, I think I did it for about a year, you'll be able to adapt your morning routine to the times that work best for you. But this is the deal. How you start your day sets the tone for your day. So get up early, set a morning routine, and start your day successfully.
Yeah, absolutely. Thank you. Those are great tips. The second tip that we have is make space. And one thing that I have found, at least for my own sanity's sake, maybe, is to identify a workspace that's your own.
So
now, yeah, I mean, if you're lucky enough, you'll have an office or at least a room with a door that can be yours. But, obviously that's ideal. Not everybody can have that. And if that is not something that is going to work in your environment, that's okay. And we certainly don't expect people to have offices for all of the people working with you. But what I really think is important too is each person to identify a workspace. So you're not all sitting at one table. You're not all sitting at the kitchen counter or all around the dining room table, just kind of spread out so that everybody can have their own individual space. And what I found is that at least for my own kids, and I have a 10-year-old and a 12-year-old, doing virtual learning, is that they really identify with that space and they take pride in it. I mean, my little guy went into the garage, he found a cubby, he cleaned it, he put his pens and his pencils and his papers. So he really prided himself in that space. And at the end of the day, he cleans it, make sure everything has its own place and is put away. I would also suggest, if you don't have an office, is no matter where you are, put something that's important to you. Maybe it's a picture of your family, or it's a pencil holder, or something that just really helps you hold that space as a workspace. The other thing when we're talking about space is to really set boundaries, because especially having kids home and you working from home, they may not understand that it's work and that you really do have to be focused to get your job done. So some of the ideas that I have with this, especially if your kids are a little bit older, is first, of course, have the conversation. This is not playtime. We're working here, right? You're doing your job. I'm doing my job. But if you have a door, you can get some construction paper and think of a traffic light, red, yellow, green, right? So red means absolutely do not come in. I'm on a call or I'm in a Zoom meeting and I cannot be disturbed.
Right.
Yellow would be, if you don't have to come in, don't come in. But if you have to, it's okay. Maybe you're answering emails or doing work that you can be a little bit distracted. And then green, of course, would be come on in. I'm doing something that I can be interrupted. The other idea, if you don't want to go out and buy construction paper, if you don't have that at home, might be, and if you do have a door, is door closed means absolutely do not come in. Don't even bother knocking. If the door is a little bit open, knock before you come in. If you don't need to come in, don't, but if you have to, it's okay. And then lastly, if the door is open, you don't even need to knock, just come on in. So I think there's ways that you can, introduce something like that into your family if everybody's working at home. Space is really important, and I don't know if we've shared yet, but I've been working from home for 6.5 years. You've been working at home for what, like 15?
15, Mayce.
Yeah.
15
and for me, I'm not used to having people around, right? Like the other night, I think it was the first night with us all being home, it was 7:15 and I said, enough, we're just done with the talking. And it was 7:15 and everybody's looking at me like it's 7:15. But I think those boundaries and having space identified would make it easier. The other thing I'll just share real fast is before I get on a call, if everybody's milling around, I'll just yell, I'm getting on a call. And that way everyone knows, just bring it down, right? Bring down the activity, bring down the noise. So the other day, my little one, his teacher's been having Zoom calls and it was like 11:15 and all of a sudden I hear him say, I'm getting on a call.
No way.
He did. They're following us, right? They're going to set up their own routine and their own space. But if you can have these little things set in place that are in regard to space, I think it would make your life easier for sure.
I love that. And Macy, the thing with the door, I don't have young kids, so I wouldn't do the construction paper, but I could use that tip even with my husband and my, 20-year-old son. So that's great stuff. Thank you.
And as you just said that, I just thought about something else. Like if you don't have a door and you are used to talking on the phone with headphones, maybe headphones in means I'm on a call, headphones out, where you don't see headphones means I'm not on a call. So that could be another one.
That is.
It could also be a way to deceive people if you want them to think that you're on a call.
No, my headphones are in. Leave me alone. Leave me alone.
Yeah.
I love that. Well, thanks. Well, moving right on to number 3, after you've gotten your morning routine down, after you've gotten your space ready to work, you need to set a schedule.
Yeah, for sure.
It is imperative to have a schedule set out if you're going to work from home. You need to know what time you start, what time you're going to stop, when your breaks are. And I will tell you, before you ever go in to officially start working, here's a very important tip. Get dressed.
Yep.
Right? It's so easy to stay in your PJs. And don't think that both of us, Macy, have done it before, right? Lipstick at the top, PJs at the bottom. But really how you dress is going to really determine how efficient you are during your work time. So get up and get dressed, right? The next thing that you want to do is to be really careful of 3 major pitfalls, right? You're going to have your schedule lined out, but there are things that can deter you from that. And the first is probably the first thought everyone's having, which is social media.
Sure.
Stay away, stay far, far away. But it's so tempting to be able to hop on your computer and check on the status of someone or what they're doing, or check out someone's live. And if it's not social media for you, perhaps it's the news. And that can take up just as much time. We get sucked in, right? And so what I would say is avoid it. Just avoid the sites. Don't even have them open. Turn off your notifications, whatever you need to do so that you can stay focused. The second pitfall is while you're at home, taking care of your home. Right? I'm going to run, go start this load of clothes, or I'm going to run, take out the garbage, right? Whatever that project is. If you want to incorporate some of your household duties within your workday, that's fine. But experts suggest to carve out 25 minutes of work time to 5 minutes of project time. So time yourself. Yeah, don't stray from that, or before you know it, you're going to have, everything out of your closet and you're reorganizing your closet, but you've got a proposal due, right?
Right.
Then the third tip is really to close strong. Yeah. And to close when it's time. And I'll tell you, that's a struggle when you work from home. When you work from home, you could literally be working 24/7. So as you look at that schedule and you had set those boundaries for starting and stopping, when it's time to stop, close up shop.
Yeah.
One of the things that's important to do is to have a closing out your day ritual. And what I do is I take my schedule for tomorrow and I begin looking at it and planning my day. And all of those little things that I might be tempted to do before leaving work, like sending that one last email, proofreading that document that someone sent me, right? I put those as my first task for the next day. And then I know I won't forget about them. I know they're going to be handled in a timely manner, and I can then close up shop and move on.
Yeah,
and when you do really move on, go put on comfortable clothes and be present with those that you're with. It's going to make a big difference for sure.
Yeah. One of the things that I can add, when you're thinking about your schedule, especially if you have other people home with you, like your spouse or your kids, is maybe when you're setting that schedule, set intentional time to be with them throughout the day.
That's great. Yeah.
Because if they're in school all day, or if they're in the office all day, they've got their own schedule. But right now they're home with you, and they're going to be tempted to want to spend time. So if you could have lunch together every day, or if you could, set your clock or a time in your day to have snack together, or just say, hey, how's your day going? But I will suggest definitely put it on the calendar, because we know what's on the calendar really does stay, and what's not on the calendar sometimes it just doesn't happen.
Absolutely. The bottom line, Macy, is set a schedule and stick to it, because without it, you're going to really struggle with being successful for more people.
Yeah, absolutely. Yeah, great. I think also the next one for me is to be able to make pivots. In times such as this, times that we're in right now, it's going to make your life easier if you already come into it in the mindset of knowing that you need to be flexible. You need to know that your day is not going to always go as planned, especially, today was a really good example for me with having the kids home and them needing me a little bit more or a little bit less. Your day just isn't going to be exactly what you thought it was going to be. But if you go into it saying, okay, I have to be flexible, I need to be prepared for, having to stop and start. The other thing I would say is to really be able to pivot what you're seeing and what you're saying. I know that you had pointed out about the social media. Ask yourself, who am I following? Who am I listening to? Where am I getting my energy from? Because as we know, where our focus goes, our energy flows. So if we're focused on the negative and we're only reading bad things that are happening, and listen, I'm not asking you to put your rose-colored glasses on here, right? This is not about ignoring what's going on in the world. Sure. It is really a matter of pivoting your reaction to what's going on in the world. And we also know that thoughts are things and words have meaning. And what we're saying, like, I'll give you a great example. The word crisis is not allowed in our house. We are only talking about things that are positive. We're only talking about hope and healing and that kind of verbiage, so that we're not focusing on all of this negativity, because we could actually put out in the world and receive what we don't want. So it's really important to watch what you're seeing, watch what you're saying, and now might be a time to think about, okay, what do I need to pivot? What changes do I need to be making? You know, for me, I loved social media, you know, and of course there's a time and a place for it, but I'm finding it very draining right now because people are being so negative, and I don't want to start unfriending people, and I'm going to try to be my happy self and post positivity. But I find myself being on social media less and less because I just don't want to bring that into the world, you know? So I think having flexibility and making those pivots when necessary is really important.
You know, it made me think of that famous quote by Wayne Dyer, right? When you change the way you look at things, the things you can't change. And so when you can pivot that, it can make a big difference, not just in your own life, but in all those people around you. They're looking to you to see how you're reacting and how you're speaking and thinking.
Yeah,
so that was fantastic to make pivots. I love it.
Make pivots, yeah.
Well, the next one is to make time to grow. Now, I think you know this, Macy, because I think I've said it before, but if you're watching, did you know that 42% of college graduates never read a book once they graduate?
Wow.
And what we know, especially as John Maxwell team members, right, is the goal of growing is to never stop. The goal of becoming your next level of best should never stop. You want to continue to work to learn new things and to become a better version of yourself. So you want to be really intentional about growing yourself personally and professionally. You know, if you don't, then there's no other choice. You're either going forward or you're going backward. And so if you want to be a better version of yourself tomorrow, you've got to intentionally grow yourself today.
Yeah, absolutely. And I think now is just a great time to evaluate, you know, what's on your reading list, what's on your watch list, what podcasts have you been listening to, or what podcasts can you start listening to? Intentionality and growth is just something you and I are so passionate about. I mean, John has taught us that over the course of the years. And I would say if you're already really good at personal growth and development, like from that standpoint, is maybe what hobbies can you start looking into?
Sure.
A lot of people that I've been talking to, a lot of my clients are finding themselves with more time on their hands, and not necessarily like, okay, we've cleaned out the closet already, right? We've done some of those chore type hobbies, but what are some things that you can be exploring right now? What, you know, do you like to cook, or do you want to learn how to paint, or what kind of things can you be doing to grow yourself in that way? So definitely, or even a professional development. What courses can you be taking that'll grow you in your profession? Certainly with virtual training and e-learning, there are so many options. You know, the John Maxwell team, of course, is a great option for people that want to grow themselves as a coach, as a speaker, as a leader. There's just a lot of great resources out there. So now might be a perfect time to add one of those to your toolbox.
Absolutely. And, you know, just as you're saying that, I think about like the way the John Maxwell team is structured, right? I mean, it has you literally hitting the ground running, taking advantage of this time where all this virtual learning is happening. So I think it puts people in a great position. Well, Macy, I think that's a great segue to our next tip, which is make time for yourself.
Yes.
And you've really got to schedule it. You know, we live in a culture where people, I think, almost take pride on being that person who's driven and working hard and just, you know, heading for success. But we have to take time for ourselves. It's not wasted time.
No,
it's time where when we take care of ourselves, we take care of others better. And I have to tell you, I never feel guilty for taking me time. I don't do it a lot, but when I do, I enjoy every moment of it.
Sure.
I love a little me time, right?
Yeah, me too. Me too.
And I love me time, you know, especially when I can leave and go get a manicure or a pedicure or a massage. But we can't do that right now. But there are a lot of things you can do. And I think it went great in with what you were just talking about as far as growing yourself, getting new hobbies, etc. But we really need to schedule, even if it's 10 minutes a day. Go read that book, finish that puzzle, do that project, paint on that picture, whatever it is. Give yourself permission to do something that you enjoy, that's just for you. When you do that, you are less stressed, you are less anxious, and you build better relationships, so you come back to that work environment as a better you. And it's just really something that's easily looked over, but it's so important to giving it all you've got to be a success in every area. You've got to take care of yourself.
Yeah, I mean, I think for sanity's sake, especially now, while so many people are in confined spaces,
Yeah.
families, you've got to figure out what that looks like. There's something that you can do for yourself. If it's getting in a bubble bath, which you didn't even mention, and I know that's like your most favorite thing.
I guess I was thinking about the work day, right? You do.
Okay.
I love a bubble bath, but I'm not gonna, go in the middle of the day because I'll be dressed, not in my
right. That is true. That is true. But I think even over the weekend, right? Just maybe taking some time for you, I think, and if you need permission, we're giving you permission. So
it's not selfish. It's crucial. It really is crucial.
It absolutely is. So our last tip is
bring it home, Macy.
Bring it home. I think it actually is really one of the more important. They're all important, but listen, we have to make the most of these moments. Although these times are trying for many of us, they're exhausting, right? But we know that this too shall pass. And we know at some point our spouses are going back to work, our kids are going back to school, you may be going back to an office, but we know that the time that we've spent with our loved ones, we're never going to get that back. Even though this time may have been forced, we're going to go back to the way that things used to be in some fashion, right? And, it's not often that you get an opportunity to have breakfast with your kids or lunch with your kids or game nights on a Tuesday or dance parties with my sister and her kids in Arizona. And it's those things that I encourage you to embrace. And it's those things that I hope that we remember. And yes, perhaps it took something as terrible as this virus to make us all stop and count our blessings and think about what we're grateful for and what we really do have. But I hope that you make the most of every moment, because if this virus has taught me anything, it has really taught me how precious time is and how precious life is. And I think, unfortunately, this isn't the first crisis that I've ever been through, right? I mean, 9/11 was really a big one that hit home for me. And I don't think that this is going to be the last crisis.
I was going to say, Casey, it won't be the last. It's
not going
to be the last.
No, but what I do know is that these experiences are always going to be what we make them to be. So I just encourage all of you to find the good in these times. And there isn't a need to strive for perfection. I want to encourage you all to love a little bit harder and really just do the best you can. And remember, we're really all in this together.
We really are. Macy, one of the sayings that struck both of us recently was inspired people inspire people.
Sure. Yeah.
And what we hope is that this training inspired you. We're glad you found inspiredpeople.com. We're glad you're here. And actually, if you will put your information in the form below, we will send you a printable that will give you the tips that we shared with you. And we also ask you to send people our way if you think somebody else needs to hear this. Nice. Yeah. Close it out.
We are closing out. We're just so thankful that you spent some time with us, and we really hope that these tips encourage you and inspired you. And like Missy said, share them with other people. If you have interest in learning more about what the John Maxwell team is all about, you could check the box below as well, and one of us will get back to you. It's something, of course, that we're passionate about, but we're just here to help you get through this time. And just, make no mistake about it, we will get through this time, and we'll get through it together. And we just want to say thank you and stay safe, be well, God bless, and, just thank you for being here.
God bless everybody. Stay well.
Bye-bye.